and another reality TV show this year known as the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles. Let's bring in the guy who calls those great games and has seen all the great stories, our friend Merrill Reese. Merrill.
Hi, Dan.
Here we are, man. Again.
Here we are.
Do you get excited the same way you always do?
Always. I'll get excited. I'll get excited about 10 minutes before kickoff on Sunday. Right now, there's too much to do. You know that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Once of the week and putting together your notes and memorizing your numbers and, all that stuff. And then I'll wake up nervous on Sunday, as I always do before a game, and it will build. But that's when it all happens. During the week, it's all nuts and bolts.
Merrill, on the preparation for your game, has it become more difficult because rosters change so much today compared to when you first got in because of all the player movement?
No. But what becomes more difficult is the fact that during the summer now, they have one cut at the end. At least I could take a deep breath. Well, they got down to 70. Well, they got down to 60. Now it's 90 until the very end. So you've got to memorize names of guys who are only known to their mothers. Sometimes you're looking at 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th wide receivers.
Absolutely.
So that's the most difficult part of it. But in terms of the player movement, you keep track of that. You know who went where. Every now and then you say, oh, did he? But for the most part, certainly with the big stars, you know where they're going.
Merrill, is it Super Bowl or bust this year?
Is it Super Bowl or bust?
Now, I've made that question vague because, and I put it out there vague like that because maybe I want you to define what success is going to be this year because there's so many expectations from the fans and maybe even from the organization and from what the players just went through this past February. I want maybe you to fill that line.
I hate to sound like a coach, but my thoughts are nowhere near the Super Bowl. The only thing I'm thinking about is Sunday in New England. There are so many things. What are the chances of the Eagles making it to the Super Bowl again and winning the Super Bowl this time?
Limited.
They're not great. Nobody's so great. Even Kansas City. Nobody has. There are so many things, Dan, that can happen along the road. So many things. Injuries, a bad bounce here and there. I mean, there are so many things that happen that you can't say, well, this team is going to the Super Bowl. Well, once in a while you had a team like New England in the Brady days, and they had a great shot every year. You knew that. And that's not this team, not yet. But this is a very, very good team. I think they're the best team going into the season. I believe they're the best team in the NFC, and I think they're one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the NFL. I do believe that, but a lot has to happen for them or anybody else to go to the Super Bowl and to win it.
Absolutely.
But I feel that the season is a total disaster if they don't go or don't win the Super Bowl this year. No, that's the goal. But if they have a great season and somehow or other something happens at the end, don't throw that out the window. This is a good football team, and it's going to be a good football team. It's going to be one of the teams to beat for the foreseeable future.
So do you look and how you look at a guy's career and where they are in it? Do you look at that Super Bowl window, Merrill, and go like this? It may not be this year. It could be next year. It could be the year after that. It might be this year.
It might.
So do you look at it as you're present the next 3 years? Because I would think that that's probably as far as you go, like I do. It's 3 years in that window frame. Let's see where we are, just like it was back in 17 on what and how they were looking at it.
Well, I don't look at it that way. I don't put a number of years on it because one of the things that Howie Roseman has done so well is he's kept this team young, and he keeps adding players who will sustain that capability. And when your best quarterback, when one of the great quarterbacks in the game is only 25 years old and finds himself on the cover of almost every magazine I can pick up, he keeps it sustainable. Jalen Hurts could be the quarterback for the next 12 years. Who knows? But he's really special. So that gives it a bigger window. But there are teams that get built by coaches taking a chance and bringing in veterans and trading draft picks and saying, I've got to win it this year. They give themselves a smaller window. I don't think that's happened with this team. I don't think there's a small window, and that window stays open for quite a while.
Merrill, do you agree one of the storylines this year is going to be how they use Jalen in the run game? I'm going to be interested in, because to me, he could make more impactful runs running less if they get more production out of the backfield with the other fellows back there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Screen game comes along as well. So to me, it's not so much I'm saying, well, does he run more or the less? I want to know how they're going to utilize him, because last year, Merrill, he was relied on a lot. I didn't really fear Miles Sanders in the run game. I feared Jalen Hurts on 3rd and long, okay? Because when he got out there in the perimeter, there wasn't really that defender out there, and he took complete advantage of it. Do you think that's one of the storylines going into this?
I think it is. But I don't think that I'm able to answer that question because we have a new the Eagles. The Eagles have a new offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson, who knows Jalen Hurts better than anybody. I mean, he played for Jalen's father. He's known Jalen since Jalen was a little boy, 6 years old. So he knows him better than anybody. And I'm sure he doesn't want it to be Jalen runs right, Jalen runs left. I don't think he wants him to carry the football 17 times a game. So I think they'll do it judiciously. And I think that Jalen will play smart. And I think that every year he gets more and more wisdom into about this game. He sees things each year. You know, as a broadcaster, Dan, I see things now better than I ever saw them, because within my line of vision, I could see a guard pulling. I could see, defenses switching. I could see stunts taking place. Stuff that years ago I was, focus on the ball, focus on the receiver. Now you see more. You look at a quarterback, that vision grows. Look at the high school quarterback. The high school quarterback sees what? About 1/3 the field, and then that field widens. And by the time he's in college, he's seeing maybe 2/3 of the field. And then when he gets into the NFL, he has to see the entire 53 1/3 yards from side to side. And you get more knowledgeable. And as you get more knowledgeable, you can play a smarter game with less risk.
It's so on point, because Bill Walsh told me when they were developing Montana, if you ever notice, Joe Early was always roll right. They wanted him to manage half the field. They only wanted him to see half the field. Well, as Montana started to see more and his eyes became more without blinders, that's when he became more of a prolific drop back quarterback. And Merrill, that's when, as you say, more reps, more time. It's not really about numbers. It's about being more decisive on your decision-making. And that's kind of what you're seeing with Jalen these last 2 years.
Sure. And even to a greater extent, because he is such a dedicated guy. I mean, he's all football all the time. I mean, he studies. He studies in the off season. He is the first one in the facility in the morning, the last one to leave. He's all football. He drives himself, Dan. He really does. And when you have that kind of talent, and he lacks nothing, when you have that kind of physical ability, and then you put it together with that kind of intensity, that kind of desire to be great, you've got something very, very special.
Are you concerned they haven't named a punter yet?
No.
Field position, and you got a defense that's got question marks on it. No, nothing there for you.
I will be shocked if the punter isn't Aaron Sippes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think that's probably where they're going to roll. Who do you think has more pressure on them going into this game on Sunday? Brian Johnson or Sean Desai?
Both. I mean, they're two different sides of the ball, and Brian and Sean Desai has the pressure of stopping the pace. Yeah, just both sides. Football's a combination. I mean, if the offense scores 35 points, there's less pressure on Sean Desai. If it's a tight game and the offense musters up 17 points, if the defense holds them to a difficult a lot of 3-and-outs. Then the pressure goes over to Brian Johnson in the fourth quarter that he's got to overcome what the Patriots are doing. It's as the game goes along. But I think both men are bright. I think they're both professionals, and I think there's just pressure on everybody. There's pressure on the head coach. There's pressure on the coordinators. There's pressure on the position coaches as you go along. I will tell you that probably the person with the greatest pressure in these early games might be Michael Clay, who is the special teams coach. And the reason I say that is because in these 3 preseason games, you never see the 11 that's going to be out there on the punt return team. You never see the 11 who's going to be out there on the kickoff team. You never see them on the field at one time, because who comprises the special teams during the summer? The 4th and 5th string guys, the number 88, 89, 90 on the roster, who are going to get out there and get a chance to show what they have in a special teams. That's why there's so much sloppiness and there are so many mistakes in these early games. Many of these September games are played the way the preseason games once upon a time used to be played. I mean, somebody talked about the Giants and the Eagles. Do you know, when I was young, when I was growing up, the last game, they played 6 preseason games. The last game of the preseason used to be put together by the Princeton JCs. And it was played at Palmer Stadium in Princeton. And this is the last game of the preseason, a week before the season began. It was the Eagles against the Giants, who they would meet anyhow, both being in the same conference, or the East or the West. And the Eagles and the Giants were both in the East. And they would play their regulars. That was a battle. 4 quarters, regulars. It was totally different. Now, the regulars, Jalen Hurts has not played 1 snap during the preseason. Not 1 snap. And nor have many of the regulars. I mean, we haven't seen Devonta Smith. We haven't seen A.J. Brown. I think we might have seen a little bit of Cam Jurgens, because he's the young offensive lineman who had to come in and work a little bit because he's a guard this year. But for the most part, you didn't see these guys. You didn't see Slay and Bradbury. You didn't see them out there. You saw a little bit, I think, of Reed Blankenship, who will be a starting safety, because he's going to be playing as a starter full-time this year. But this is going to be let's see what we have on Sunday. It's different. But when you're the special teams coach, you know what the big challenge is, Dan? To make sure you have 11 guys out there every time they have to go out for a punt or a kickoff. Make sure that the number is 11.
Absolutely. Communication on the sideline. 2 last questions for you here. I made a proclamation earlier in the show that I said this about A.J. Brown versus Terrell Owens. I said Owens may be a little bit more skilled. I don't think a lot. But A.J.'s a better fit in the entire organization, which will mean he'll turn out to be an even bigger acquisition to what Terrell Owens was, because it was short-lived, and that he will be the best that they have ever had at that position in an acquisition. Do you agree with that?
Let me tell you something. There are 2 of them there. AJ is phenomenal. Devonta Smith is also phenomenal. Both have been named team captains. You can't name one without the other. I wouldn't tell you that one is better than the other. They're different. AJ is bigger and more physical. Devonta does things with his body near the sideline that I haven't seen. How he can dot the I's, how he can get those toes in. They are both magnificent receivers. That's the best pair the Eagles have ever had. Best pair. And people say, well, you work with Mike Quick, who played with Harold Carmichael, Hall of Fame. But Mike Quick, when he played with Harold Carmichael, was in his first year. He only caught 10 balls. And Harold, by then, was at the very end of his career.
Wasn't he more of a flanker too, Merrill? Like, and what? Not so much out wide, wasn't he?
No, Mike was wide.
No, I'm not Harold. I'm talking. Wasn't Harold more near the line of scrimmage? And then
only when he first came in, he was kind of an end.
Yeah,
but he split wide. Oh no, he split wide a lot. Nobody ran the fade pattern better than Harold Carmichael. But this was the best trio. If you look at AJ, Devonta, and then add Dallas Goedert. It's a great trio of receivers.
You kind of buried my lead on this a little bit then, because I was going to ask you this here. All right. I want you to name me WR1 between Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Who's the number one wide receiver on the Eagles?
They are. There's no number one.
No.
There's no number one. I think Devonta had more catches last year, set the record.
He did?
A.J. had more yards. Take your pick.
Who have you been more impressed with since they become Eagles? A.J. Brown or Devonta?
Both.
Listen,
I don't.
You're running for mayor of Philly now.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you, I go crazy because A.J. Brown just wrestled the ball away from 3 people, and then 10 seconds later, I'm looking at Devonta making a catch that doesn't seem physically possible. They're really you can't say one is better than the other. They're both terrific, both terrific. I mean, I could say you want me to say, well, I would give the edge. There is no edge. And you know what? They're each other's biggest fan. There's no, I mean, they're friends. There's nothing. There's no jealousy. They're great teammates. That's why Nick just named them both. They have 9 captains, and these are the 2 new captains, AJ and Devonta. They are neck and neck, nose to nose. They're both terrific. There's no one.
Final question for you. Now, I want you to take this with a grain of salt. Maybe you'll understand a little bit more who I am. I've become friends with Angelo Cataldi now. He's been on the program a couple times now, and he's going to come on twice a month, okay?
Good.
I asked him about Nick Sirianni, and he called him a cheerleader. He's not a big fan. Why is Angelo wrong that Nick is maybe the perfect coach for this team?
But wait, you're saying
he doesn't think very highly of Nick Sirianni.
I'm surprised to hear that. To hear that. I do.
He says he doesn't know the pulse of the city.
Oh, I think he does. I think he gets it. I think he gets it. I think he would go on with Angelo last year in Angelo's final season, and he would get on Angelo a little bit when Angelo was tough on Jonathan Gannon. And I like Angelo, by the way. I consider Angelo a friend.
He speaks highly of you.
The squibs that is on the cover of his book. So I think the world of Angelo. He's the best morning talk show host
ever,
in this that I've ever heard. But anyhow, I will tell you this: Nick gets it. Nick feels the pulse of this city. He is passionate. He's emotional. He's the players. The players really respond to him. And, somebody on the staff, who I won't name, but somebody deep in the organization said to me one day over lunch, he said, you know what Nick does best? He is the best I have ever seen at coaching his coaches. He coaches his coaches. He delegates. He doesn't step all over them. He lets his coaches coach. And he has the emotional ability to bring his team to the point they have to be at for each and every game. And he does it differently. It's not the same old. It's not the win one for the Gipper. 1 week he may be this high. Next week he may show them a movie. But he's very creative. He's very creative, and he's a terrific young coach.
I wish you could do one thing for me on opening day against the New England Patriots, and I wish they could add one more captain to the thing and make it a good 10 here. I wish they could put and have Nick Foles be the ceremonial captain, go out to the coin toss on Brady night, and just and just have Nick flip the coin. Heads or tails, Tom.
Or maybe they would just have him walk over to Brady and shake hands and say,
finally,
this was due on February 4th, 2018. Where were you then?
I just came for my handshake.
I don't think Nick will be there, but Brady will, and he deserves all the accolades and all the credit that he receives, because he truly is the GOAT.
Hey, Merrill, this is a long overdue handshake. How you doing, Tom? Congratulations.
Yeah. I don't think that will happen.
Have a great call on Sunday. We'll all be listening. Thank you so much, Merrill.
See you, Dan. Have a good day.
You got it. The great Merrill Reese, man. It'll be a great call up there, as always. Him and Mike Quick. They do such a great job up there, too. So we look forward to that. Hey, guys, don't forget, 40th anniversary of Hooters, the official home of the National Football Show and Big Cells. Oh, by the way, that's my TV look now. I got to get ready for TV. Xander fixed my he fixed my monitor here, so I'm going to be looking very TV-ish on Sunday. But again, too, so will the Eagles and all Eagle fans, the official home of Eagle fans. You got it, Hooters. One of the 7 locations in the area, in the Northeast area. All you have to do is go to northeasthooters.com to find one of those locations. And this football season, we're going to be at the King of Prussia one. I cannot wait to see all of you out there so that we can, jaw it up a little bit on NFL and Eagle football. Such a great time. By the way, if you want to just get the food, you can order online at hooterstogo.com. Tuesdays, buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, one of the great 40-year traditions. 1983, that's the year the place was founded. Kids eat for free on Saturdays, all the great specials, happy hours. Man, try the sandwiches and the hamburgers. They're just absolutely sensational. Make sure you go to northeasthooters.com, and when you roll into any one of the 7 in the Northeast area, you make sure you tell them Big Sil sent you.